this. Okay. So, do you finalize? صباح الخير. Okay. Welcome. Today we're going to explore Git. Don't be afraid. It's going to be very quick. Well, this is one of the lessons that is kind of quick. Okay. There is a trick to this lesson. I already told the first comers here. This lesson is 2 blocks. One that we're going to use your computer. If you don't have a computer, you can basically follow this first part of the lesson with the resources from KAUST. So if you have a tablet, you can do it from there. But the second part of the lesson will connect your computer to GitHub, which is the remote server. Okay, but let's start this thing. First and foremost, my name is Didier Barradas Bautista. I am part of the KVL, the KAUST Visualization Core Lab. We regularly do these workshops, you might know. So just to remember, my name is Didier, so you can call me Didi, because usually people go through these workshops and don't remember my name, and that has happened, I know for sure. But you see, the most handsome guy in this slide is me. So we have 2 data scientists. One is Abdul Rafur, the other one is me. Then my other colleagues have different skills. For example, Ronald is a virtual reality wizard. He can put you in the metaverse in a second. James, he also managed this facility, this beautiful room that you see here. And he also knows how to basically put a lot of your information into the supercluster we have and to run simulations on it. And most importantly, you can look at it later. So our lead is Sohaibgani. He's also very good at doing different kinds of works with visualization. For example, we have some of his visualization in the SOM 2, the big room across the building 1. And just to tell you, for example, I am not a computer scientist by formation. I am actually a biologist. At heart, I'm a molecular biologist. But turns out that because life takes you in many different paths, now I am one of the specialists in AI in the team. Okay? Well, life. So, first and foremost, this workshop, all that is contained is in this website that you see here. That's our wiki. It's open to everyone. Please open a tab in your browser and check it out. You will see that if you go to training events, that is highlighted in one of the red rectangles there, you can search for our workshops, all of them that are happening. Mine are there in yellow. There are other ones that, for example, we're going to do Hands AI tools in Arabic with Abdul Rafur. It's going to be streamed on YouTube. And you can register over there. There are more workshops. And in the bottom, you will see also all the past workshops that we have done with all the material and all the recordings. Okay? Very important, very powerful resource for me to tell you this. And we also, because we're going to do this, we have that specific documentation for this workshop. So for everybody that is joining, and for those that are looking at this in the YouTube channel, we have the workshop materials there. The slides that you're looking at it is here, in that you can download them from there. Then there is a link called Etherpad that I will show you later. That's a collaborative document that we're going to use for you to make questions. It's completely anonymous, so you don't have to put your name. I actually put my name as Shifu because I think I am training a panda, and she's graduating soon, and she's going to become the Dragon Warrior. So, jokes aside, the Etherpad is a very useful resource because it's notes for anyone. You can write anything there. Please be respectful. You can actually ask questions there, and I will be monitoring that in my computer. So there were also a rectangle there that says how to prepare. So like I was saying, this lesson particularly is in 2 blocks. The first block, you can use the different resources we have. There is a public binder there. There is ClassHub for you. Those are resources from KAUST to give these kinds of workshops. They are for you. You can access them very easily, okay? But the most important part is, like, during the break, I would like you to install Git in your computer. Okay? There is a thing there that says local setup. Go to that link, check the instructions, and install Git in your computer, please. Because the second part is not going to be very easily done if you go to the resources, because the KAUST resources will wipe out everything after you log out. So please install Git in your computer, okay? That's what the break is going to be about, to install Git. All right. Now, talking about Git and installing Git, this is another website that you can get the information. Especially, we need also that you have a GitHub account, all right? Meaning, go to the website, create a user, establish the correct passwords and everything. And please try, when you're doing that, to match your email to the email of KAUST, because we need it to match it for different reasons. One of them is like it could actually give you access to GitHub education. It will be important later when I talk about it. But please put your institutional email first, and you can put another one, which is your personal one, for security reasons, and so on and so forth. So please create your GitHub account also in the break. It's very important. We're going to use it. Okay, so I was telling you about the resources here at KAUST. This is one of those resources. It's called Binder. We have a Binder hub. What does that mean? This is the last resource, but it's a very important resource. If you cannot install Git, we're going to use this one. Meaning that you go to that link that you see there, Introduction to Data Science Workshop. This is a GitHub page. And all the way down, you will see a badge code that says Launch Binder. Specifically, there is a badge for KAUST, because that's a local resource for KAUST. The other one can be used for the persons that are there in the YouTube channel that are looking at us. You can use the other binder that will say just Launch Binder. Okay? So, in the meantime, shameless self-promotion, we also have a YouTube channel where you will find this workshop among all the other workshops that we give. If you have any interest in data science or how to use IBEX, the recordings are there. Other workshops are there also. There is that tutorial that I just put there. That tutorial is one of our most famous tutorials made by my colleague Abdul Rafur, because it gives all the tools for Windows users to become a data science. One of those tools is actually using Linux, how to use Linux inside of Windows, because really, that's the thing you should be doing, or you should be using, Linux, not Windows. But also, critics aside or whatever, you can use whatever you want. This is the way you can actually access that knowledge. And you can have all the tools and everything there. If you have any comment or question, please put your comment in the video. And it's like, hey, this is too old, or something is crashing, or whatever. It might be that we are looking at it, and then we can give you an answer. Okay? There are other things, as you can see there, recordings from the AI workshop that the Rafur does. Some other things, for example, Aviso in petroleum engineering research. That's another one that might be interesting to you or your colleagues, depending on your field. Of course, it depends everything on what you want to do. Okay, so far so good. Everybody on board with what I said? Did I say it too quickly? All good? Okay, type. All right, let's make a pause. Right now, what I want you, for those that came later, please try to install Git, okay? Right now, we're going to do a pause for 5 minutes. Install Git in your computer if you don't have it, okay? Even if you don't have a computer, you can access the resources that we saw. For example, in this pause, I will show you the binder thingy. So, as I told you, we have this website, okay? So, in here, if you click there, you will be directed to this website, which is a GitHub website. If you go down, you will see there are two buttons here. For people in KAUST, it says KAUST Binder Hub. For people from outside, it says Binder. You just click there, and it will start deploying a Linux machine. But it might take time. So this is why I wanted to do the pause. For me, it's quite relatively easily because I did it before coming here. So it just deployed like that. You will see this. This is a Jupyter notebook, or a Jupyter lab, rather. So in the Jupyter lab, this is what is called GUI, a graphic user interface for you to have. Okay? And we can start here to work. We go here, and now we have a terminal that this is what I want you to have, a terminal. In this case, this is a long terminal, but this is Linux, technically speaking. And we can start using the command line, because the first part of this workshop is going to be command line. Okay? You can do this. If you install Git in your computer right now, you can follow along. There is no problem. Okay? So I'll give you, I don't know, 5 minutes. Any questions so far? No? Yes, question. Uh-huh. Okay. So you're here, you mean here? Okay. What did you choose from there? Okay. So in that one, you will go to training events. Okay. You click there in training events, and then you will see oral training list. Okay. Here is the data science workshop. You click in Git, and then there you have it. Once more, you go to training events in this tab here, go down, you will find the Git there. So for Aquila Al-Halaf, if you're listening, that's exactly what you have to do. You go to this website, wiki.bizkaust.au.sa, training events, and then introduction to Git, and you will find this. Okay? So if you go to where it says binder here, okay, that's the website. You go all the way down, and you will find these buttons here. One of those buttons, the one for KAUST, is for KAUST people, because it's something that people from outside cannot access. Okay? The other person outside, they will use the other binder hub. All right? And then you will have something like this. And after that, you can deploy a terminal that is here. Okay? All good? Do you have any other question? If you install Git Bash, that's excellent. If you have any problem installing this thing, you can use this one. Okay? So go ahead, install it locally, because it will be better for the second part. I haven't checked if the second part will work with this resource, okay? But if we're going to talk about project management and all the wonderful things that can Git do for you, it's better to have it installed locally, okay? So let me tell you about something else. While we're doing that, you see here there is a link to the Etherpad. So if you click there, it will take you to, technically speaking, a notepad that is interactive. This is every note that we have been taking for the different workshops that we have here. Like, for example, over here we have shell workshops, and all the way down we have the Git and control versions. Okay? So please log into that one. for example, you can put your name here, or I can say, for example, I don't know, TR7, because why not? Right? And you can say, hello. You see? And it's in real time. So this will allow me to actually read your comments and questions. And if you're very shy, because I know some of you are, you can actually put just anonymous, and you can ask any question. Okay? You see that there are some users here that are unnamed, and you can write messages here like, hi, this is TR7, because at some point we had also Georgina here. Okay? So please log in into the Etherpad, and let's check it out. So while I'm here, or let's say I'm not here anymore, I'm going to check it in some other place. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you're all on board so far. Thumbs up if you already have some kind of Git or you deploy the binder hub. Okay, good, good, good. I know you. You okay? I know you okay. You're late. Okay, well, it wasn't so much of a pause rather than me going through this material. But I want you to go pretty much on the same note because we need all of you up and running. So, I know that some of you are pretty much half of my age. So guess how old this is? Like, you know, in academia is very isolating. It's a very harsh environment, really. Like, this is the usual workflow. You read, you write, you get coffee. You read and write again until you basically end up with a thesis that it destroys your nerves, but you already have a thesis because you're going to get, you know, a master's degree. But let me guess, you're quite young. How old do you think this is? So, you know, it's like 14 years, 15 years old comic. So it has been around like a long, long, long time. Jorge Cham is just like he's a magician. He sees into the life of every PhD student, and he just plugs that life into a comic. So, jokes aside, this workflow is very, very, very common in academia because you're usually given a project and you're usually the only one on board of it. And this kind of project management style is called waterfall. Because I'm probably guessing that you all heard, like, if you have a big assignment, break it down in small steps and go one by one until you reach the end, right? So if you have heard about that, that's the normal workflow for an academic setup, mostly, unless you're in a bigger team, right? If you're in a bigger team, let's check it out. Go to the Etherpad. I put in the Etherpad actually a question: how big is your team? And put a mark there. Like, for example, if I go to the Etherpad, how big my team is actually 4 people. I will put a mark there with a $sign. You can do it too. So I just want to have a sense of how many of you are all by yourself, or is you and your PI? Because this type of project management is actually really, really hard to do because most of the time is you the driving force. So the only people that you have to check is yourself. All the errors, you can go back and like, okay, if you have a great memory and very good writing skills, you probably can go back into a project and say like, okay, this was a mistake. Okay. So somebody is working in actually more than 5 teams. More than 5-person teams is really, really big. Have you ever heard about Jeff Bezos' style of making teams? No? You know that Jeff Bezos have this or had this idea of the team has to be big enough that you can feed them with 2 pizzas. It's called the 2 pizzas style. So if your team is bigger than that, you should break down that team. In academia, it's never quite like that, but I can see somebody actually respond more than 5 persons. That's big, really big. Depends how much. I mean, if you have 2 persons that just eat one, you can probably put more. But that's the gist of it. It's like, okay, you have a limit. You cannot feed 10 with 2 pizzas, right? Even if they are having just one. Okay. So even though that's the style, let me know if you haven't been here. Like, have you ever been in that situation? I know students have. I have. Everybody has. I mean, if you're in a master degree or a PhD degree, you've been there. It's like, yeah, final doc, that's my paper. You give it to your PI and comes back all red because it's like everything is wrong. You have to rewrite everything once more, even with ChatGPT. So part of the problem is like, if you're working just with another person, say your PI, it will come back with your comments and reviews and blah, 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 and this becomes a cycle. And then your PI will not remember what he was writing in that comment, and you will reply to that comment, and he will forget, and then it's like, hey, what you put this? Like, you told me, right? It's something really, really funny, but kind of frustrating because it happens in real time to you. So how do you avoid that? Because literally, you can come with final review, comment 49, corrections 10, blah, 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 because you don't have any control of what has been changed, and you specifically do not have the history of changes. Even now, for example, in Word, you have this kind of change controls, right? But once you accept one of the changes, the history is lost. So this is why we're going to dive into version control. What makes version control powerful is that actually it will give you the history of changes and who make that change. So I lost the battle of trying to teach this to my superiors because they did not want to learn. And it was something that you have to basically do a business case for them to learn version control of a Word document. All right? So right now, as a service, Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneCloud can give you these kind of things. A friend of mine, for example, she lost some of the files, and then she called the guys in Dropbox and was like, hey, guys, I do not know where these files are, and they give the last copy back. But they actually have more copies of that. They have different timestamps. It's like, okay, which do you need? You need the first one or you need the lastest one? So that's version control. And what is happening is like, you generate code, you generate files, or in a database, you basically have different versions. That could be you working with somebody else. For example, in the industry, this will happen. If you go to industry, you will have a team of, I don't know, 3 and your manager, or 4 and your manager. And you could be on the same project trying to develop, for example, one application, a code, or you're just drafting something in Word. So that every version will be basically in the cloud. And then you can have it in different versions can be in different computers. But at some point, you have to put them all together, right? To do the final product. That could be a paper, could be a code, an app, what have you. Okay. So technically speaking, this is what we're going to see. This is how Git works. Git is not GitHub, by the way. Git is the technology, or let's say the program. GitHub is a web service. GitHub is not the only web service that produce control version. It's the most famous one, and it's acquired by Microsoft, by the way. So it's a Microsoft product now. But Git is not. Git itself can be installed locally in your computer, and you can use it for your local purposes. Now, you can upload it to our cloud, that's fine, but it doesn't have to be GitHub. It's the most secure and more fine-tuned one. But now you can see like Git is basically like a continuous or infinite undo. If you have done something wrong, you can undo it as many times as you want, and you can go steps back into the past. So usually what happens is like you're working on something, then you add it to a staging area, meaning something between you and your service, then you commit. That commit is important because in that commit will go the message of what have you done. And then you will push it probably to a remote repository, but if not, it's all on your computer, okay? And so if you have some kind of error, you can come back using git revert. And if you have a remote repository that you already know that those are the bona fide versions, you can pull it. Or if somebody else is working in something cool, a project that you are interested, you can pull it from the web. That's git pull or git clone. Git clone basically copies exactly what is going on and pull updates the thing. So we will be seeing this in the exercise. So don't be overwhelmed. It's really actually, this is why it's very small, fast workshop. These are basically the things that we're going to see. You can count them. So not so complex. And you have, for example, some of the git commands that you will always use. Git init, that will start a git version control in your computer. Then git add, git commit, push, reset, pull, status, and clone. For example, clone is one that everybody uses because if you see software around GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, you can get a copy for yourself. And it will be literally the lastest copy that somebody did, for example, 4 years ago. Okay? So, like I was telling you, GitHub is a web service. It's not the thing. It's GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket, the three main companies that provide these kind of things. So Git, for example, here in KAUST we have GitLab, which is a local GitLab that you can work with your teams, but it cannot be seen by people outside. So it's a very KAUST-related thing. If you want to publish your research, kind of give it available to the world, you might need to use GitHub. And in GitHub, you can use, for example, just that button that I'm highlighting there, like fork. That will create a copy for you that you can work with in your account in GitHub. But well, that's details, okay? So. Yeah. GitHub, because these are services, is like. Yeah, exactly. If you have, for example, this kind of projects that you cannot let anybody see because it's just not there yet, you can use a privacy setting there from the service. But the thing is, remember, I just told you, GitHub is owned by Microsoft. Theoretically, they have access, right? So, yeah, it's private for the world, but it's like, is it private for the managers of the service? Like, theoretically, yes, it should be private for them too. All right? Yeah, I mean, that's a big issue that we will discuss also later. But for example, Git is very famous and it's been ingrained in so many things. For example, the tools that I use for basically managing the projects that I have, the code that I have, is using VS Code, which is a Microsoft product again. And they have an integration, but most of the interactive development environments, meaning VS Code, what's the other one, JetBrains and stuff like that, they have this integration. Okay, they have a button. For example, in GitHub, there is that button that says 3 over there. And that button over here, like I said, that's the Git control version command. Okay. The other one that I like to use is GitHub Desktop. Although they make seem like they do the same thing, I use also GitHub Desktop to have a finer control of when I have some kind of problems. So it's better to have two options rather than just one to manage the things. They are both Microsoft product now, but that's fine. I mean, for what I do and for most of my work, I want the world to see it. This is fine. Okay, so we're going to start exercises, but let's take a break. If you need caffeine, that some of you know you don't, but most of you look like decaffeinated, go ahead, drink some water. We will come back in, let's say, 15 minutes. What is it? Break. Okay, so the material is not accessible now. I will fix that and I will change the link, okay, for later to download. But at the moment, it's like denied. I didn't know. In theory, I set it up so everybody that has the link can look at it but cannot download it. In theory, but apparently it's worse than that. Some Microsoft products are not great. So, I mean, actually, a lot of them. But anyway, so let's restart, okay? So now we're going to, technically speaking, start working in the exercise. So I know you already either run your binder or have it locally installed. So we're going to do this exercise first. Okay, let's go back one step just. If you go to the material, if you go back, for example, to this, one more here. In our website, I put the material here in this link. It will open this website because this material is done by internationally community called the Software Carpentries. So they have a lot of material for data science, software in general, very basic and to advanced. Okay, this is what we're going to use. And as you can see there in the summary setup, we have Jimmy and Alfredo have been hired by Ratatouille. And it's like, okay, fine. It was actually Planets and Monsters last time that I read this. So it changes, right? It could be Dracula and Frankenstein next time. We don't know. But so you know, this is what we are going to technically start using, okay? If you don't follow me, you can follow this. And if some point you have to leave because you have another meeting or another class, go over this material. It's the same thing, okay? As a matter of fact, please go through this material. You will find it very, very good and with a lot more resources for you, okay? If you want to also, for example, start learning Python, they have a Python lesson and so on and so forth. Fine? Okay. So the first that I want you to do is actually try to configure Git, okay? So if you go to your terminal and you type git config-help, it will come back with a menu of options, all right? More importantly, when you configure Git, you have to give your global name and your username. Those one, please make them the same as your GitHub account, okay? This email has to match the one that you have in GitHub, okay? Basically for future reference. So please start your terminal and type these things, git config.help, and then GitHub config user. I'm going to, for example, put it a little bit in my own. This is my terminal. If I do git, that's the version. You can see I'm in Git 2.39 for Apple. Git-help should deploy all these different commands. Let's put this a little bit more like this, okay? So whenever you have a question, you can do git-help, okay? So at this moment, what we are doing is git config, okay? I will give you a couple of minutes so you can type this in your terminal. Yes, in the Jupyter, for those of you in the binder, let's go to the binder hub. So in binder, if you have here the launcher, you open the terminal here just by clicking like that. I will put, I'm going to do something here because I really don't like this. Okay, perfect. So if I do git, that's just version, I have the same version, but for Linux, okay? Git, that's just help. and it should deploy the same thing. One more time. If you click here, it will open the launcher. Oh, here. Yes. You go first to the binder hub. Should be on. You press here for opening the launcher windows, and all the way down here, you can open a terminal here, okay? It will come back with some very good colors. I don't know if anyone has problem with the colors, but this one is very green. So I just change it using a different approach. Okay. And you should be inside of a thing that has this kind of files right now. Okay. The same can apply for your terminal. If you're using your own terminal, clear. We're going to use desktop in this case. Okay. For those that are locally doing something, you can see I have many things here. All right. And we can start that config, git config. And git will give you some idea here what you have to do. You see here, for example, there is a prompt in all the way to the bottom. That, technically speaking, you have to scroll down using enter. Or you can just write Q or press Q and it will go out. But once more, okay. So if I do, for example, git config dash list dash global, it come back with these credentials for me, all right? So this is the way you have to actually do the same. Config your username and your user email, all right? The same email as GitHub. Yes. Oh, it opened a browser for you. Ah, magnificent. I didn't know. I don't have that wonderful function, actually. In the terminal. Ah, you want to see it in the terminal? Oh, okay, you're hardcore. No, but I don't know why it opened. I really don't know. This is a Windows machine? Huh, okay. That's curious. I didn't know that it could do that. Curious. All right. So, yes, another question. Uh-huh. You have a GitHub account. So you have a GitHub user. So for your name, I guess your GitHub account was not like Dr. something, it's like your name. So put username, your name, that matches the GitHub account. And the email has to match the GitHub account. Yes. Yeah, for example, in my GitHub, my username is there's something, but if you look at it, my whole name is there. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Global user name dot name. So this one is small. Oh. What was it? This versus global. Okay. I have it right here. Oh, that one has my Gmail account. But I will fix that later. Okay, can you read this one? Oh. Yes. Not now, because this is locally done. So we're not connecting to GitHub yet. This is working you in your computer. So you don't need anything for a password rather than your session password. But this is just a local thing. Okay, now we're going to help Chef Linguini to keep track of the recipes, okay? So in this case, working your desktop, for most of people that has Apple stuff, you can do this. Go to desktop, make a directory that is called recipe and go inside of it. And then type git init, okay? The step 3 is do ls-a. It will give you some vision of what has happened with git init. And then type git status. Hi, hello. And so, okay, this is exercise number 2. So let me know when you're in step 3. Yes, you're in step 3 already. Wow, super fast. So if you're in step 3, tell me what you see. So .git, right? Okay. How are you? Don't worry. To the terminal. Okay, don't worry. We can wait. The tilde. Ah, don't worry. Yeah, that one in my Mac is above control. From the So for those of you that reach step 3, you already see that there is some file called .git. That .git folder, which is technically hidden, that's where the computer is going to store all the changes and all the history. Technically speaking, that's where the copies are going to live. All right? So this is the first step to help Chef Linguini. We started a Git repository. All right? Okay, let me do it quickly too. So if I do mkdir recipes, I create now recipes directory. So what I need to do is git init. And it says initialize git repository in this direction, right? You should have something similar. And then if we do ls-a, this will show, let's do -la. You can see dot, and .git. So in .git, right now there is nothing. But here you will have, technically speaking, the place to all the copies that you're going to generate later. Okay? You will not see it with your file browser usually. Now, exercise number 2. Well, actually, git status. If you do git status, you will see that you are in branch main. Oh, no commits yet, nothing to commit. So this is technically speaking Git telling you initialize something. There is nothing that I have been recording yet. Okay, we're ready for that. So this is all that is saying. You're in branch main. We were not going to discuss what is a branch, but if you're in an older version of Git, it will say you're in branch master, which means that you're in a very old version of Git, previous to 2020. Okay. It was changed to main because, master and slave and words matter. And then it's like, hey, it's just a word. And for what we're going to do, main is the same thing as a master. So just, it's a cultural data point. So, okay, we initialize this. Now we're going to create my favorite recipe, guacamole. Okay. So if you're in guacamole, well, if you are a fan of guacamole, you know what proper guacamole looks like, and it's not like the ones that are selling in Tamimi. But that aside, we're going to create a file called guacamole.nd. Okay. For those of you that are a Windows user and do not know about Nano, you can create it with anything, with block text or whatever you want. Okay. It's just about creating guacamole.nd. Then we're going to write inside of that file those things that are hash guacamole, hash ingredients, hash instructions. This is called markdown format. Okay? So then you're going to the whole process. Step 4 is, again, git status, then git add. This will actually start telling Git, now you have a file to track down. And then you will do, again, git status, and you will see how it changes in your screen. All right? So I'll leave you to that. As a matter of fact, I can do it with you, but I will give you a couple of minutes, just a head start. Okay? Any questions so far? I know you have a question. Okay. My friend, come. So just to get you up speed, yes, very quickly, we're going to use this here. All right. This here, this will jumpstart. Also, you're already jet lagged. I know. Oh, are you with the? You're with the guest. Can you connect to the? You don't have yet. Okay, so we can solve that using the other one. This one here. Same thing. All right. As long as you're in the guest, it should work. There you go. So after these launches, you will have again the Git Jupyter Lab. There it goes. So all right, it's working. Okay, so here's your terminal. It's an online version, yes. This resource is the last resort resource because, yeah, you can follow this here like that. Yeah. Yes, question. Yes. Yes, you have to exit Nano. In theory, this is why I told you, like, you have to generate the file however you want it, because I know that many of you didn't take the shell workshop that I did, and many of you probably it's the first time you're looking at the terminal. But you can generate this file however you want, as long as it's inside of recipes folder. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me show you. Yeah. Let me show you the thingy in the terminal. So here. By the way, is this color good for you, or should I do it in a white space? Because This one can be better, I guess. Let's clear. Let's make mkdir recipes. Okay. Git init. There you go. I just did a git. LA. Set the recipes. Here. Okay. So if you are here and you type nano guacamole.md, it will deploy something like this, okay? This is a text editor. This is, technically speaking, the great grandfather of what is Word now, or any of the different document managers that we have. So in this case, because this is a dinosaur, you still have to use your hands. You don't have to talk to it. So in the bottom, you see here these things. These are the menus. This tilde over here, or this thing, is what he was saying. This is Control X to exit. So for example, we can do hash. It was recipe. Oh gosh. Why is, okay. Dash ingredients and hash ingredients and preparation. Okay. So in this case, you have to write out first. You have to tell it, write this. You do Control O, and it will tell you, okay, you want to write something in guacamole.md, I will create it and write stuff. And then you say yes. And then you exit with Control X, okay? Now, if we do the same, now I have guacamole.md file here, right? One more time. Here it goes. You type nano, and you do, for example, let's call it guacamole for tamimi.md. Okay. If I press enter, it will start this screen. All right. Now you can write everything here. You can write like stock number clients time. Okay. So far, I have written something, but it will not save it until I say save it. Okay. There is no autosave in this dinosaur. You have always to say save it before you get out. So you do Control O, and it will tell you, do you want to write this in this file? All the way here in the bottom. By the way, is this font enough, or should I make it bigger? Maybe bigger. Okay. Here we'll say file. Do you want to write these things in this file? And then it's like, okay, you press enter to accept. And then you have to do Control X to get out. All right. So you can do this also in your you can do this also in your Windows machine with Notepad or whatever. Yes, tell me. Okay. So what you have to do is this mkdir recipes, like that. Okay. After that, you have to do cd recipes, and you will enter that. Okay. And then you can create with nano these files. Now, if you do git status, now the message change. Now you see in this version, for example, my branch is called master instead of main for some weird reason. You can change it later. For now, it doesn't matter. Now it says no commits yet, but I see two files. You have guacamole MD and guacamole_t. Okay? So in this moment, you already have created a file, and Git is aware of that file. This is the difference between one of the or the other steps. So you already created something. You can remove it. You can do something before. And this is called a staging area, as a matter of fact. This red thing that you see here is just called a staging area because it's making Git aware that something has happened, something has been created, something has changed. Okay? Now, what was your question? Okay. On the on the break. Okay. So the next step is git add guacamole. Okay. Add guacamole to your recipe. That sounds tasty. So once you add guacamole, do again git status and look at it, how it changed. What you will see in the screen will be different to what we see now. So if we tell this guy git add guac, and then git status one more, now it have changed. It says like no commits yet, but now I will keep track of this file. This is why it changed from red to green. Because now you have enter add. That's the command to tell Git, track this down. We're going to get the history of this correct, okay? So that's the first step, just git add. Then, the very important one is the step 7, git commit. Now, git commit will trigger the actual history of this file later. If you don't commit, you basically are doing nothing. But the important part of git commit is that flag called -m, because that's a message for your future you. That's a message, you know, have you ever written something that you would like to remember later? Like 7 years later? This is the way. Think about it like, this is a message for your future you, and it usually have to complete the phrase, if apply, this commit will do something. Okay? In this case, it's like, this commit will create the initial structure for guacamole recipe. It has to be small, it has to be clear what you did, because it has to read like a story. Think that you're going to do a very small history of different phrases, that it has to be very specific. I would also tell you, like, the best practice would be do one commit per file that you change. Because if you're going to basically change a lot of files, there is no point of telling you the story of the details. So when you put in your CV, I am detail oriented, that detail matters to me, this is the time to show it. It's just a small sentence that you want for your future you to be a reference. Okay? So, for example, let's do this. Git commit -m create recipe file. It's good, it's clear. Please don't do something cryptic. Like, I don't know, I have a giraffe, because it's a code name for the project. It's better to be just succinct and clear. If you trigger this, it's telling me that I have to configure it first. But at the end, git status, yeah, I have to do that before I do this. Great. So if I do not do the configuration that we did before, it's not going to work. Sweet. What? Where's my terminal? Here. So if I change this for a style, there you go. going on? See the recipes. Coach guacamole. .md. Git add guacamole. Git status. Okay. And then git commit -m. Initial commit. That's very common to do. Okay. I need that darker version. Okay. So with my first commit, for example, now I have this small, like that. This small message. Like now in your branch, you have an initial commit that basically is your comment. Like what you did, you have one file that has no insertion, no deletions, and we have created guacamole for you, and we're going to track it down. Now, you see that number over there, the 3ABBB448? That's a very specific number the computer will create for your own file. So, if we go back, now I don't know why I repeated twice the GitHub status, but if you do GitHub status, now it should show that there is nothing there, right? Because the file abandoned the staging area and now it has been tracked. Now you started the history of this file, and now we can do more modifications at it. That's exactly what we're going to do. Now you're going to open guacamole MD, and now you're going to add stuff to that, right? So guacamole, ingredients, avocado, coriander, salt, blah, 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 instructions. So this modification will affect your file. Write stuff on it. It doesn't have this, but this is actually the correct recipe, because if you go to the material, you will see that it has lime. So no Mexican that is properly born and raised there is going to tell you that guacamole takes lime. So just to know, it doesn't have lime. So period. Anyway, so guacamole, you add ingredients. You need avocado, coriander, and salt. That's the only thing. Let's add these 3 lines over there. Let's go to here. Nano, guacamole, and do dash ingredients. Put potato, coriander, and salt. Okay. And then instructions. Control O to tell it write it out. Come on. There you go. Write this. Yes. Control X to get out. Now, if we do git status, it should show again that something has been modified. Okay? So far, that's correct. If we do git diff, it will show you what has happened. So yours is going to look a little bit different to me, right? So once you modify the recipe, you do git status, and git will tell you, hey, again, it's been modified. This file has been modified. If you do several of them, it will show you the list of how many they have been modified. So, okay, how do you find those modifications? What has happened between the previous version and now? That's when git diff enters the fray. So git difference, technically speaking, actually calls another programs inside of your computer, and now it will tell you, okay, so I'm analyzing the first version of Guacamole file to the current version of Guacamole file. Fine. What has happened? You will see then in these lines some plus stuff, and then you have it there. Like, okay, this has happened. In my case, I added this. In your case, you should be adding just the ingredients. Okay? So far, I just have to do the following. I have to add it again, and I have to commit again, right? So go ahead and add the file once more to the staging area and commit, and make a good commit comment. So very quickly, right? You add it, and if you do git status, it changed from color again. Now it's like, okay, I have tracked again the changes. So just git add, and then git status will give me this right now what has happened. That's fine. As a matter of fact, if we do git diff now, nothing will show. After you do the add, we have put the file into a waiting area, the staging area, right? So I cannot use git diff again because it left the previous stage. If I still want to do it, I have to tell it like, hey, stage it, I think. There you go. Because now it's like the place where it's living is not the same. Okay? I still can track where is it. But that's the point. Like now that I have git add, I have to commit. Now, let's go back to the commit that I put. Okay. Easier. Git commit. Now, this doesn't make sense for this lesson, but I can put git commit ingredients added. This commit will add it, the ingredients to the recipe. Section. Okay? Now, it's different that I was going to do right now, right? Just to put ingredients added will tell me nothing in the future. But if I try to always finish that sentence that this commit will, it changes the way your brain thinks about it. And now you should see something like, okay, one file change over here. It has, in my case, 6 insertions. In your case, should be 3. And now, if you do git diff, it still says nothing. And git status should come back again clean. Nothing to commit. Everything is fine. We're keeping track of the changes in your file. Okay? So far, so good? This is Git so far. Okay. In the next part, we're going to do something called git log. Just write it down right now. After you do the commit, the last commit, git log. If it's a little bit ugly, you can use that flag. That's just color words. But if you do git log, now you see what we have done. As a matter of fact, it should come back with what have you done. Okay? So in that case, is who did it, when it did it, and you can see here, this is the initial commit. That's the first message to me. And this is the second message to me. Okay? So this is why I'm telling you, like, make a very concise, very clear message to you. Because when this reaches the 100 commit, then you have a very long story to read. Okay? So far, you actually can track, if we were doing this between different machines, you can track who did the change or who changed what, because it has an author. And then you can basically blame persons. Not exactly blame, but there is something called git blame, which will track the author of that change. All right? Okay, so let's take a break, 15 minutes break, so I can help some of the people with questions and problems. Okay? So I know it's a lot to take, but so far you've been doing a wonderful work. This is Git locally. The next step, we're going to try to connect your machine to the GitHub repository online. All right? That is why also 15 minutes should be good enough for you to actually try to install it if you haven't installed it yet in your computer. All right, let's give a break. Okay, so if I recall correctly, so before everything that I have to talk to you, I'm going to give you some couple of tips. So GitHub also have a GitHub education page, all right? Give yourself the time to go through it and apply for it because it will give you access to ChatGPT for free in the form of GitHub Copilot. So if you are not that old, but you were interested in the advancing AI and all the stuff, the very first LLM that was actually released to the public was GitHub Copilot. It was a pre-version of ChatGPT for coding. It's special for coding. Now, if you follow the money, you know that OpenAI developed ChatGPT, Microsoft bought OpenAI, quote unquote, both. Microsoft bought this GitHub resource. Microsoft developed VS Code. Why they did that is actually a pretty solid game of economics because they bought all the code, technically speaking, that resides in GitHub. GitHub have thousands of users, millions of users around the world. Now they have access to all that code. And this is why it was coded like it can be a very contentious point of how was GitHub Copilot trained? The same as how was ChatGPT trained? You know, there is this problem of copyright, right, with ChatGPT, that it was trained with videos of YouTube, code from everyone, poets, books that were copyrighted. The same happened here. Like the code that you create has to have a license. Most of these licenses should require at least acknowledgement that you did it. They kind of did not, but that's the lawsuit about. However, amazing resource. We're going to a stage where programmers are aided by AI. Give yourself the time to go through this. If you have an account in a university, it should be free for you, and it's ChatGPT 4. So don't pay for it. It's free for you as long as you are students. Okay? So just to make you aware of, this is owned, technically speaking, by Microsoft. So whatever code you put there, it will be in the next iteration for the training of these LLMs. Maybe. We don't know the stage yet. Could be. Okay? But still, I really love talk about GitHub Copilot because it's a super useful tool for doing boilerplates and go faster. However, you have to be really good at coding to rein it in, because if not, it runs very rampant and does very weird stuff. So you still need to know how to code. Okay, let's go to the website. Over here. There you go. So in GitHub, let me put this all blown up. I should sign in. I will open another browser. New window. Not this one. To use the other version. Okay. Now it's going nuts. But now we're going to GitHub. Okay. Let's go all the way back to your amazing starting page. So as you can see in your starting page, it will have your own name. This is my username. This is the name I configured things. Because I've been working with this a long time, it has my Gmail instead of my KAUST email for some reason. But then if you go down, you can do a lot of stuff. This works pretty much like social media. But the important part is to create a new repository. So we're going to start creating a new repository, and I will tell you exactly what we're going to do after that. But first, let's go over creating a new repository. Why? Because there are different things that you can exploit, okay? for example, there are templates. You don't have to go from scratch usually. Templates, for example, can be something like that. I have one template that is called Data Science Project Template, which is what I think is a structured way of working with a data science project. But that's my opinion, okay? So if I import it, it will, technically speaking, import also the ownership. But this is why you have to create one for yourself. Right now, we're not going to use any template, and I'm going to put myself as an owner. Then the repository name. I'm going to create something called planets. Planets, okay? Planets is available because I have no other work that has this name. You can put a description if you want. If not, you can do it later. It can be public or private. If you put it private, no one will see it. And this was point of the discussion in the early morning. Private means you and whoever you invite to work with, and probably the administrator. But at the end, if you do not want to show anyone what are you doing, because your research is precious or is touching on data that you don't want anyone to see or what have you, you can start with private. You can change it later to public. When you're going to publish your paper or your conference, whatever, it can be changed. That's not a problem. Now, a thing here that I like is that it adds a README file. The README file is a presentation card. I will tell you exactly why. Now we have add git ignore. Git ignore is a file that will allow you to control what you want in your precious repository and what not. For example, you can ignore your data. You can ignore another things that are basically garbage, like PNGs that you're generating randomly, or stuff that is like not necessarily good. I usually go for the Python one because I work a lot with Python, but there are different templates, and the GitHub and GitLab will do this technically automatic for you. And now you can choose a license. Now, always choose a license, okay? Do not leave your repository without a license. It can be Apache #4, it can be MIT, it can be Creative Commons. I always use the MIT license just because I think it's powerful, but it's my preference. For your case, it could be a different thing completely, depending if your program is going to become a software that you want everybody to pay for. But at least the MIT, it will kind of tell people like, use my software, be free to change it, but acknowledge it's mine, right? Like put me in the author list, something like that. So you have several here, for example, the new license, the Common Zero Universal. But, like I said, I will choose the MIT, all right? And then you can just create a repository. Yes. Okay, you will see it right now, okay? So the first thing you will see is that you generated something like this. It has nothing but a bunch of things, but no description, no steps, no nothing. I have rejected papers of people that has done this because they think they can just throw things and you will figure it out. Now, if I am your reviewer, this is a straight up back off. Do it better. As a matter of fact, I always tell, it's not the fault of the student, it's the fault of the PI. Because the PI didn't train the student to do a proper work with this. Now, I might sound really harsh, but this is true. It's like, if I tell you, okay, work with this, which of you can work with this? If I put some random file there, what would you do with that? There is no instructions, there is no description, there is a license, but there is nothing. So we will check a website that it will tell you how to write the first README. But going again, why do I ignore the Python? If you go here and click in git ignore, we will see that this is a file that is telling Git, you know, there are things that are cache. I don't need you to track that down because goes into the memory and usually it comes and goes. It's garbage, technically speaking. There are some other things that are super, super big, like, where are the Python ones? The IPython ones. Some like the PyBuilder, for example, that is a big one. Django stuff. This one tends to be exponentially growing and shrinking and change a lot. So the Git node will take all this out because you don't want to really track this down. You want to track your source code. You want to track your document. You don't need all these things that are intermittent or they are way too big. Like a database from SQL could be several gigabytes, terabytes maybe. GitHub, the website, will not allow you to put files that are bigger than 100 megabytes normally. There is a large file system, but that also has some kind of limit. So this is why you better want to ignore stuff, and you can add to this git ignore. Now, like I was telling you, you can go to nice websites like readme.so. Now, before ChatGPT and everything, this website is a free resource that will allow you to create a README, okay? And it will render it here in the right side. So for example, you can put GitHub profile here. You have in this section, basically what you have here, project title. Like for example, we're going to change it to planets. And then say proof that Pluto is a planet. Then you can add, for example, an appendix, and it will add it here. You can put acknowledgement. You have a lot of things here that it could be rendered here. This is how it will look like. Then you can go to the copy the raw data here. You go to planets here, to the README, and you can even write this down. Okay? So when you do this, you can commit the changes, you see? This commit will add new info to the README file. read.me file. And then commit changes. Then we go to planet. And now it has rendered it, okay? So the README is the first thing that people will look at it. And it should have who you are, what is this about, the process to use your code, or the process to understand what is inside of your repo of this thing. And it can be done online. Now, apart from that, this is what I was telling you. If you want, you can clone this. You can have a copy of this. If you go here to code, it will deploy stuff. You use different options. You can use the HTTPS option. You can copy that. And if we go to the terminal, I can do git clone that direction. It says cloning into planets, cd planets. And now I have a copy, exact copy of what I did in the website. Okay? Usually this is the easiest way to start a project. You start in the website, then you clone it, and then you start working locally. Why? Because the other way is to go what we're going to do with recipes all the way around. Okay? So far, so good. But just to give you the same idea. Now, again, you need to create something, add it, commit it, and then in this instance, if you want it to put in the website, you will push it. Okay, that's a new thing. But for example, here, let's create something. Make MKDeer asteroids. Now I want you to see this. Touch Pluto.md. Now, error. Now, for example, if I do git status, what do you think it will happen? I created a folder and I created a file. What should I do with git status? What would be the result? Git telling me what? That I'm tracking who? Pluto.md. So why I'm not tracking the folder? Because I created a new folder and I created a file. So the magic of Git is that Git tracks down files, not folders. If I do this, you will see I have Pluto.md, but I created a file there. I created also a folder, but it's not tracking it down. So what I have to do is basically tell touch, what was it? Asteroids. And let's say big rock.txt. So if I do that, when I do git status, now it says like, hey, you have something here too. See the change? So if you want to track something down, it has to be the file. As a matter of fact, now I have to tell him like, okay, git add Pluto and git add asteroids, big rock. And now it's exactly doing that. It's like, hey, I know now I have this thing called Pluto and this thing called big rock. All right? So just for you to remember, it tracks files. If you create only a folder and nothing is inside of it, it doesn't track it. All right? All right? So do you want to do these things with planets too? I can wait for you. We can do it all together again. You can create a new GitHub repository, call it planets, clone it, and then do this. All right? You did it? Okay. Not this one. Eliminate this one. And also not this one. Maybe. Okay. So far, so good. You can create something in GitHub and clone it. It's restarting. Trying to install git bash in the computer. Yes. It shows planets. Are you inside of the planets folder? Or you're outside? Yes, I mean, restart or remove, because perfect. So if you want to remove everything from the top, do this with caution, because in the terminal, when we do this, it's gone forever. So you can type rm remove -rf, like recursive and force, and then planets. Okay? Now I erase everything. I cannot get it back. But now I can do again git clone. What is the git clone? And it's going to create again the same thing, cd planets. So enter there, git status, nothing there, git log, let's say. Okay, in git log I have something. So this was the initial commit because I created the repo. This is the second commit because I modified the README file. And now if I do again, let's say touch Pluto, ext now time, git add Pluto, git commit -m. This will add evidence that Pluto is a planet. Okay. Git status. It's already pushed, but now, no, sorry, it's not pushed. So Git is telling me like, okay, you have something here locally that is in the staging area that you can push to the repository online. Okay? This is why it's telling you use git push to publish your local commits. Because so far, this is just locally. Okay? So if I do git log, it will still tell me like, okay, so I did my initial commit, I added new info, and then there is evidence that Pluto is a planet. All right? If I do git push origin, meaning locally to main or master, depending, then because we try to match our credentials, it will be pushed to main. And if I go to the website, I refresh, and now I have Pluto here. Now, this is the easiest way to work with GitHub. Like you create it in GitHub first, and then you copy the thing into your local machine. So since basically you clone it and you have the same name and your share credentials, it will work smoothly. The other way around is a little less smooth, but it can be also be the same. We're going to try to do it with the recipe, actually. Okay? So far, everybody work it out. You could clone, you could do stuff. Yeah, except for you, Paris. I know. Okay, I'll give you a... No problem. Okay, let me go. Yes. Yeah, I will show you in a second. Just let me go over here. Okay, so what happened here was that I went to code this green thingy here. So it opens. I select HTTPS. You can copy this to the clipboard. Okay. And then you go git clone Control B. And that will copy the whole thing where you are. Now, one thing that you should not do is to have a git inside of a git, because it makes no sense for starters. But it also will be very convoluted in the following steps. Like if I do again cloning planets inside of planets, now I have planets inside of planets. So when I do git status, now it's telling me that I have to do something with the planets that I think that I just added. But yeah, at the end, having cloned something inside of the clone, it makes kind of things different and difficult. So that's why it's better just to remove it just in case. But it will create a clone there. All right. So far, so good. Okay. In theory, this is all the things that you need to know. Like, if you want to leave now, this is it, because now you cloned something from internet. You can add, you can commit, and you can push. The only thing that it will be missed if you do something new, and then you have to pull, meaning the following. And this is technically speaking the last that you need to know. So if I do again something like, let's do this. Let's erase this thing here. And proof. Pluto is a planet. Okay. Appendix. This is my project. And then let's commit changes. And let's say this will fix some typos in the README file. Okay, commit change. All good. So right now, when I do git status here, nothing will happen. It will tell me like it's fine. Your branch is up to date with the origin or main, because so far I haven't seen any local changes. But if I do git pull origin main, it will tell me, aha, I found something from the repository that you didn't have, and I'm adding it. Okay? So this one, technically speaking, just updated my README file from the website that I did a change there. And now I have that change here. So like the slide that I show you, you need to know push, pull, clone, add, commit, and status and log. Those are the 7. I mean, good things come in seven, I think. Anyway, so those are the 7 commands that you need to know. There is no other thing, no other magic. That's how Git actually works. Now, if you want to invite another person to work with you, that's a thing that you have to do over here in settings. Okay, and here in collaborators, you have to authenticate. Give me a second. By the way, everybody has a 2-step authentication in everything, because if not, you are very exposed. I'm not a big cybersecurity savant, but it's really scary what you can find out there. So I have my code here. Okay. So now I can add any person here. When I add people, I can get, for example, your username here, and I can add you to the project, or you can add me to your project. Okay? Once you add me to your project, then we are collaborating. You will see my changes, and I will see your changes, and probably you will find me working in a different file while you're working in a different file. Okay? So this is how you start inviting people, and this is how you make your teams. As a matter of fact, I can try to Faris, your name is very, very common. So if I knew Faris Mohammed, I can invite Faris Mohammed or the other Faris Jama that you see there. You just need basically the name of the person that you need to invite. Okay? So another thing about this is that in settings, where is it? Not collaborations, but go back. If you go all the way down, you will find the danger zone. So why it's called the danger zone? Because here you can change the visibility from private to public and vice versa. But also you can delete this. Once you delete the repository here in the website, it's supposed to be gone totally. You might have a working local copy, but once you take it from here, you will have to go over all the changes again. You have to upload the whole thing once more. All right? So, good enough for you? I mean, if you have any other meeting, any other class, this is the moment. All right? Because literally, this is what you need to know. These 7 commands, how this works, and how you're working back. Yeah, of course. Those that you want to remain, I mean, it's just going to be a chat about where you can put everything like in a cloud server, but it's not relevant. You can actually read it from the material. This is going to be in YouTube, yes. Yeah. I will edit it a little bit, but it will be in YouTube. But like I said, this is the basics, and this is the nitty and gritty. So at the end, for example, if you need to go, you can go. All right? Do go through the material in the website. Okay. Any other question? All right. Yeah. And please do a README file that is worth of your time. Because otherwise, it's just a blank page with no information. Okay, that's all. Good. See you. Hey. See you. See you later. Okay. Now, for those of you that stay here, for example, another thing, like I told you about VS Code, right? Now, I like to use it because it has connection to everything. Once you have already done the student thing in GitHub Education, you can add GitHub Copilot here as one of these apps that they have here. And it will show here, okay? As you can see, this is ChatGPT 4.0. If you have access to other, you can add it. But at the end, here, you can also create clone a repository from GitHub. You can copy paste the thing here, and it will automatically do it for you. It will tell you, where do you want to put it? Could be in desktop, could be in documents. Let's put it in documents. So it will do the things for you. One other cool thing is like now that you are, for example, in a GUI, you can technically start working very easily with something like, let's say, Mars.txt. And now you have something that is not nano, but is more powerful, like, for example, your regular Word. Write a Python script for Hello World. Okay. It will write it down. You have it here. It's already done. Now, here, this part, you will have a graph of everything that has been happening, who has done it. Basically, this is Git log. Okay. Now, this is the file that you have changed now. You have basically created. This plus is git add. You do plus, and now it says stage changes. This is what I told you, like this is the intermittent space, okay? Now, it hasn't been committed. It's just waiting for them. But if you have some kind of regret, you need to do something different, you can unstage it here. Quite easy, right? And now you do the plus, and then you can do commit. Okay, this is a Dofus script. Bad commit, but still. And now it says sync changes. Since this will be basically your credentials with GitHub over here, it will go through, and now you just push the changes. So, as a matter of fact, you can technically do the same with different files, Word documents, Excel files, CSV tables, what have you. Using these kind of GUIs is just better because it's very easy. Yes, you don't have to remember exactly what are the 7 different commands, but it will also allow you, when you have some kind of problem, to revert very easily and to check it really, really quick, rather than in the terminal. But I made you pass through the hell of the terminal so you can get this into your computer. It's more comfortable and better. And then once you have this, you can create this. You can create your code to be citable. For example, do you know this this repository called Zenodo? It's an European repository, as a matter of fact. But that one, for example, if you type Zenodo.org, Zenodo actually allows you to upload data and code, and it will mint it. Meaning, it will give you basically a DOI, a digital object identifier that you can use to cite your work, your data set. Well, even whatever you want over this thing, you can get it, technically a clone of it, but you can get code out of it too. Let's say code, I don't know, about something. And it keeps also versions. So here you can go over it, just searching for it, and it will be citable. Why is that important? Because in academia, what's the coin? What's the money? Citations, right? So this will be a good place to put your code or even your poster. You can upload posters that you go into the conference, and you can cite it later in your CV or for some reason that you need to cite. Who knows? Maybe it's a winning poster of a competition, right? It's better to say, this is my poster, and then like, here's the link, instead of saying like, I was the winner, but I have no proof, right? There is that one. There is Figshare that also allows to do that. But I have seen recently a trend that people put a copy of their code here for later storage and for citations. Okay? So just for you to know that trick. Now, also, I wanted to talk about this GitHub Desktop. So GitHub Desktop is a different manager. So here you can see I have different projects that I've been working with. a matter of fact, I just cloned this one. And this one, technically speaking, because it's a product from Microsoft, it will connect to VS Code directly, but you can connect it to any other thing. And now you can fetch your origin. This is, technically speaking, git pull origin from main. And then you can actually see that there are more different things. Branches. What are branches? Usually when you use Git, you have a main branch, which is what you want everybody to see. And then you have a development branch, which is what you are actually changing to make it better while it is not the final product. So these guys have an amazing number of branches because they probably had different versions that they were testing different things until they could pull all together into the main. Okay? So take that into account. When you're actually developing something, when you're in the workings of something, and you have something to show already, you put the thing that you want everybody to see into the main, and then behind the scene, the branches are the ones that you can start modifying. Okay? And this one will allow you to actually enter those. So this one says current branch epsilon. And then I can see it with this, with Finder or View in GitHub. It's very, very nice to have GitHub Desktop, just to have, the manager there that will allow you to actually get everything into place, and it's very easy to find. Okay, so those are my 2 tips for you 3 that you stay all the way to the end. Get those, the GUI and this other thing, and your GitHub account, and you're pretty much set up 90%. And now that you know the seven different commands, you're good to go. Okay? Now I'm finished. Now you can go. Thank you very much for staying all the way to the end. And I hope it was useful for you. All right? So thank you, everybody that was watching in YouTube. And